Steps to the mic with a boom, ping, ping. Wisdom sharper than a beast's fierce sting. Words like fireflies that light the night. He turns the dark into blazing bright. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, or the airwaves king. Shake the ground, unveils the truth where lies abound. Politics, justice, social streams. He molds the chaos into dreams. No silence here, just the sound of change. Boom, ping, ping, rearrange. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, or the airwaves king. Through the static, through the noise, he amplifies the people's voice. Boom, ping, ping, like a heartbeat's call. He's got the wisdom to break down walls. Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Today is Thursday, June 25th, 2026. We are going to talk about the floated idea, not quite a proposal, maybe a suggestion. Does seem to be, I suppose, some social and or political support for the idea of transitioning the city of Milwaukee away from our current power and energy provider, which is We Energies, to a publicly controlled municipal utility. It's not a new idea. In fact, there are a number of cities around the country that have such a power delivery collaboration, I'm going to call it, where the power that we receive, whether it be the natural gas that we use to heat our homes or the electricity that we use to turn on our lights and the ceiling fan. Side note, when you leave a room, turn off the lights. Don't leave the lights on. It's a waste of the electricities. But there are a number of cities that provide power to their residents and not seek a profit motive. Now, we know that We Energies is a very large utility. Now, they also have a lot of infrastructure, too. They have a lot of line workers, and they have a lot of engineers, but they're also motivated and driven by profit. And this can be troubling for some, because if profit is your motivation, then your rates will raise arbitrarily so that shareholders and CEOs and whatnot can make more money. And when you think about it, that's not fair. And I will admit, on its face, it isn't fair. I also know that the cost of updating and upgrading infrastructure is extremely expensive. Do we want the city of Milwaukee, considering what the city is, what it does, what it's good at, what it's not good at, its strengths and its weaknesses, do we want the city of Milwaukee or any combination of appointed board members or elected officials to have some kind of controlling interest in something that is vital to life, like power? Now, I get it. People want lower rates. We all want lower rates. So what I'm going to do today, because there's been, I guess, some hoopla. And when you have hoopla about something, then people might think, oh, this is a reality. This is a possibility. Maybe we will get a public controlled utility and it'll save us a bunch of money on our We Energies bill. So the idea, I think, is good. But in practice, how realistic is it? and how feasible is it? So I did a little digging now. I looked at other places around the country and I see how they operate. Most of the public utilities provide power for very small towns. I think about 80 or so percent of the public utilities, which is what is being floated from Milwaukee. 80% of them in other parts of the country serve a customer base of about 10,000. So it's small in other parts of the country. Our customer base here would be probably north of 600,000, depends on how much of the surrounding suburbs would be included in this new Milwaukee public utility. Or maybe it just gives us a choice. Maybe you can stick with We Energies if you want to, or if you wanted to have lower rates or a different kind of service, this Milwaukee municipal utility could offer some C word. Not that C word, competition. So, because the idea is one that is quite political and it's also economic, I'm going to give you some details so that you all can make your own decision on whether this is a proposal that you would like to support or not. On its face, for me, it's a little troubling, and let me tell you why. There can be some reliability issues when your municipal government has a controlling interest in the electricity infrastructure. And so our power going out at our houses, it's horrible. It really is. It's awful. You got to go and you got to remember where you put your flashlight. I don't know what it is about the flashlights in my home. I have several, but I don't know where I put them. I have flashlights in several different strategic places in my house, but when I need one, two things. I don't know where they are. Number two, the battery. I don't have, where do you get batteries? I don't have batteries in the flashlights, because here's what I'll do with my batteries. If my remote control needs batteries, I will take batteries from any other device in my house, because a remote control with no battery, it feels like, and no offense to people that only have 3 limbs, but when you have remote control, it doesn't work. Doesn't it feel like you've lost an arm? You know what I mean? It feels like you're at a major disadvantage, because I have the kind of TVs where you can't go up to the actual device and change the channel. You have to pray. Like, I don't have a way. If my remote controls don't work, I think I have an app on my phone where my televisions can be potentially connected to my app, but it's kind of clumsy and cumbersome. So if I have remote controls that need batteries, well, then I'll take a battery out of a flashlight in a New York minute. So we'll talk about the details of what this municipal utility will look like. My esteemed producer, Xavier, offered the potential conversation with the alderman of District 3, Alex Brower, who is one of a couple of folk that are leading this charge and this interest in transitioning Milwaukee to a public utility. Already gives me a little skepticism, a little bit. All right, now, you know, Alex Brower is one of them socialists now.
It's socialist summer.
Okay. Oh, you said it's socialist summer, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that bodes well for
It's
the
about
rest
to
of
be
us.
socialist fall as well.
I feel like I need to better explain to folks, because a lot of people, they just hear a good idea and they're like, oh, that sounds good. Let's just do it. The problem that I have with political extremes is nuance is not their thing. They see a problem, they react to it. We energy is too expensive. Get a municipal utility. The cops killed George Floyd. Get rid of all the police everywhere. That's not, you can't have simple solutions to very complex problems. The middle is where the nuance is. The middle is where the fine print is. But no, I get it. People are very impatient and they see a problem and they want it remedied, because we are dealing with a younger cohort of people that, and I would say folks that are Democratic Socialists probably trend a little bit younger. I suppose there's nothing wrong with that. But because this younger generation grew up with their faces buried in screens and they can get things immediately. As soon as you decide something, you can make it happen. If you want to order something off of the Amazon, you want to order all of the DoorDashes, you want to order something, that you can go to another app, you can go to another website. It's quick service, quick order, everything. You want to find a new partner, you go on a dating app, you don't like this dating app, go on that dating app. That doesn't work for politics. Everything else is short attention span in our society, except for politics. These things are arduous, they are painful, it takes a lot of compromise, and it takes a very long time for policies to get enacted. And the problem that I have is you've got a large number of people that want change immediately and don't quite understand that it takes years for this. If you want to see monumental social change, a couple of things. You're going to have to die Like, dedicate your life doing it. Because what'll happen is there'll be a group of people say, oh, we want a whole bunch of change. Yes. And if it doesn't happen, they all fall away and they get disappointed by the system. And I've seen it time and time again. There are no easy, fast, and quick solutions to the complex problems in this country that have been created and made even more complicated over many, many years, many, many decades, and many, many generations. There are no quick fixes. And so I have to apply a little bit of logic, because then people will wonder why nothing is changing. And I think starting with the municipal utility conversation is that's a good place to start, because there's nothing easy about it. It's going to take a long time. So we'll talk about that in a little while. I got some good details for you. You may be curious about why we titled the show what we titled it, because every day on YouTube we come up with a title. Some days I ain't got no title. Some days the title is my name, The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. But we have a little bit of a provocative title, which is very rare for me because I'm not provocative at all. I don't provoke anyone. I'm just a regular old fella, just doing the Lord's work. I come into the 3rd Street Market Hall every morning. It's very quiet. Nobody is here. I mean, a couple of Mexicans are here because they clean the place. It's me and the Mexicans. I nod at them. They say, hola. I go on about my business. I make my way into the Good Karma Brand Studios, where we are still broadcasting from, even though we are owned by Milwaukee Black Media. I fill up my little bottle of water because you got to stay hydrated. In fact, where's my water at? Here it is. Give me a sip real quick. I make my way into an empty conference room, take off my jacket, get all nice and comfortable, open up my laptop, and start looking at stuff that I'm going to talk about. There's nothing controversial about me. I live a normal, regular, boring life, but today we have a bit of a controversial title for the program. The pull-out method. I want to know when you guys pull it out. No, the timing of when you pull it out is extremely important, and I'm very curious, legitimately. When do you pull it out? When do you pull out your cards? Ladies, do certain things happen to you, and are you disrespected, or are you oppressed because you're a woman? When you pull out your woman card? And what scenarios, when you feel like you are being treated unfairly, do you believe beyond the shadow of a doubt you are being treated unfairly because you're a woman? What if you're not an American citizen? What if you're a migrant? And let's assume that you were here legitimately and legally. Do you, migrants who are probably not listening to this show because, it's done in English, do you ever feel like you're treated unfairly? Maybe the political system is really coming down on you unfairly, even though you went through a very arduous and potentially long and expensive process to get to the United States. Do you feel like you might be getting treated unfairly because of your country of origin? What about your religion? Some of you are the Muslims. Some of you are the Jews. Don't put them in a room together, you know what I mean? Better watch out. If you do, that could boil over quickly. Some of you are one of those Catholics. Catholics can't even talk to Jesus. You guys have agents called saints. That's the craziest thing for me, because black people know Jesus personally, but the Catholics call a 1-800 number and they talk to a saint, and then the saint will deliver your message to Jesus, I think. You ever play the game of telephone? What if the saint doesn't deliver your message the way you intended it to Jesus? But what if you were treated unfairly because of your religion? What else? Oh, maybe you don't have a lot of money. You're not a very rich person. When do you pull out your poverty card? Well, this wouldn't happen to me if I had a bunch of money. Life isn't fair because I don't have a bunch of money. I want to know when you pull out your card, and I'm saving the best for last. Hey, blacks, how are you? For some reason, I forget that the audience that I speak to every morning is considerably more diverse than I believe it is. And I'm not just talking to black people, but sometimes if you listen to the show, it's just me and the blacks having a conversation, you see. I know there's some whites and some others that are listening. Black people, when you pull out your race card, and when you pull it out, is it because you just lost the argument and you want to shut a white person down and you say to them, you're only saying this to me, you're treating me this way because I am black? When do you use it? I think we have, in some cases, overused it, because if you don't have an articulate argument, one way in which you can temporarily pause a disagreement is by pulling out the race card. But I think we have pulled it out so many times in so many situations where it wasn't warranted. Now, no one cares. Because guess what I'm starting to see? I'm starting to see white people pull out the race card. Sherwin, this isn't fair. This is only happening to me because I'm white. I didn't get the job because I'm white. You know, you blacks get the affirmative action and get the DEI. Newsflash for the whites who are just mediocre and unqualified. You can't use that as an excuse anymore as to why you didn't get the job, because both DEI and affirmative action are illegal, unconstitutional, and it's going to be on the ballot in November, and it's going to pass with flying colors. We're going to literally change the Wisconsin Constitution to ban DEI in the state of Wisconsin forever. So for the whites that would pull out their race card, you can't blame affirmative action and DEI anymore, because that is gone. I personally think that we have pulled out our race card a little bit too much because nobody cares. There used to be, at least in my lifetime, some level of sympathy for black people in certain situations because white people know. I want a lot of things. I want black people to stop thinking that they have to go above and beyond and get creative and cite all these examples to prove to white people that racism exists. They know. Ask a white person who has kids how they feel about their sons and their daughters marrying somebody of a different race. Ask a white person, a good, well-meaning white person, if they actually want black neighbors. Not, oh, I got a black neighbor and I'm cool with it. Which of them want black neighbors? How many of them want black kids to sit next to their kids in those very expensive private schools? And I think you know how a lot of them will answer. So stop trying to prove to them that racism exists, because they know that they want to be in places and spaces and they want to feel comfortable around their own people. Now, I'm not saying that all forms of racial bias are inherently sinister, because sometimes I want to be around black people. I can feel safer in a black neighborhood at night while hearing gunshots than I may feel in a suburban neighborhood with a squad car behind me during the day. Just saying. That's just me. Well, this U.S. Supreme Court, which is the opposite in ideology from the Wisconsin State Supreme Court, which, please hang on to those bits of information I just gave you, because the U.S. Supreme Court has 9 members, and 6 of the 9 members of the U.S. Supreme Court are ideologically conservative, some considerably more conservative than others. Believe it or not, the black justice is probably the most conservative of them all. And the 3 liberal justices that are currently on the Supreme Court were appointed by essentially the extension of Barack Obama. Obama got 2, Joe Biden got 1. Okay, so that's where our federal U.S. Supreme Court is. Our state of Wisconsin Supreme Court, which is 7 members, 5 liberals, and 2 conservatives, and oftentimes the ideologies of our liberal court in Wisconsin and the very conservative court at the U.S. Supreme level share ideologies, which is really, really weird, especially when it comes to affirmative action and DEI, et cetera, et cetera. However, I got something for that ass today. And I'm talking about the card, and when you pull out the card, and when black people pull out the race card, and it seems that we pull the race card out when we get bored. Or here's the other thing that we do, and I don't like when we do this. We will act a complete fool. We will act disrespectfully. We will be obnoxious. We will be careless and reckless with our behavior. And if someone who is not black says something about our behavior, which we know is obnoxious. Because sometimes, let me give you a little secret about what black folks do sometimes. Sometimes we act a fool and dare somebody to say something. No, I'm serious. We know that we're acting an ass, and we dare you to say something. Because then when you do say something, we're going to pull out the race card. Y'all got to stop doing that, because our race card used to be like the big joker. You guys play spades? White people, do you play spades? Just curious. Because I know that I don't play euchre and sheep's head. Just curious. So the race card used to be this trump card. Now it's just like the 3 of clubs. It's a useless kind of card. So we may, in some cases, manufacture a way to pull out the race card. The U.S. Supreme Court, that is very ideologically conservative, gave black people their race card back in a landmark decision that I had to read 5 times because I could not believe it. I'm going to take a break, come back, continue our conversation. Yes, we are going to discuss the details of what it would be like if there's a municipally owned power company, a power utility in Milwaukee. What does that look like? What is the scope of such a proposal coming to fruition? And I also want to talk about this monster landmark U.S. Supreme Court case. I couldn't believe that a court this conservative, and of course, Judge Alito and Clarence Thomas dissented from a decision so liberal, it makes me question my understanding of how the Supreme Court even works in the first place. We're going to talk about all of it today. If you haven't joined us on YouTube, I don't know what you're waiting for. Search 1017 The Truth.
Health Primary Care Services, LLC, the Greater Milwaukee Urban League, Eisenberg, Riley, and Zimmerman, and the New Pitts Mortuary. Our silver sponsors, Mr. B's Privilege Lounge and Dog City, along with Running Rebels and Griffin CDL Institute. Limited vendor spaces available. If you'd like to support or make a donation, email homerblowfoundation@gmail.com or call 414-248-4954.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I would like to say good morning to all of the people on the YouTube chat. You all are like my co-hosts. Sometimes you guys say weird stuff in the YouTube chat that I absolutely cannot read on the air. Sometimes you guys are very informative and quite comical. Good morning, Vanessa and Aaron. And Linda says, I like that pullout. You have such a way with words. Linda, I don't mean it in the way that you mean pull out. When do you pull out your card of oppression? When it's legitimate, when it's real. What if you're a gay? The gays be pulling their card out a lot. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't pull your card out, but just use it sparingly, because if you use it too much, then people, it's like crying wolf if you keep pulling out your card, you see. I'm starting to believe that white people pull their card out more than we do as black folk. Sure, when that's because I'm white and we're the oppressed minority. Not yet, but it's coming. And just as a bit of advice to our white brothers and sisters, and let me also say this, there's some good whites out there. Some of y'all are so pleasant. Just kind of walking around, kind of head in the clouds, listening to Van Halen. The real Van Halen with David Lee Roth, not the Sammy Hagar Van Halen. 2 very different Van Halens. One I like, one I don't like. I'll let you be the judge. But some whites are so decent and pleasant. They don't know. They just grew up in a bubble. They're almost like babies, because they don't know. They're so unaware. God bless them. And that's some of our fault and the system's fault and the education system fault. White people, they just don't know. Poor things. Some of them are very nice. But you will be a minority, and depends on the city and the metro area. You might already be a minority. I'd imagine that white folks have been a minority in California, especially Southern California, for a long time. But when you think about it, that makes sense, because California is Mexico. You guys ever think for a second how disrespectful the United States is? And I know that you probably consider how we're disrespectful, but because we're the United States, I think that we have this ultimate license to be disrespectful. We have a state called New Mexico, which I'm sure you're familiar with. It's in the Southwest United States. And if you live in traditional old Mexico and you hear that there's a state called New Mexico, you might think to yourself, oh my gosh, I would love to go to the New Mexico. But then if you try to make your way from normal, regular, traditional Mexico to New Mexico, we're going to like arrest you and put you in jail. Isn't that just unfair? That's so disrespectful. Why call it New Mexico if old Mexicans can't go there without being harassed? Liz is who we're talking to? Okay, let's talk to Liz. Hello? Whoa. Hi, Liz. How are you? Oh, she hung up. I had
She
high
sounded like
hopes.
an angry white. She said she did not grow up in a bubble.
Oh, she didn't? Oh, I love when white people try to prove the contrary.
Yes. But she hung up right when you picked her up.
Okay. That's all right, Liz. Well, Liz, feel free
She's
to...
calling back.
Oh, look at that. Let's get Liz back. Let's talk. I'll answer it myself. Hello, Liz.
Yes,
What's on your mind?
it's the same thing. I didn't grow up in a bubble.
Oh, where'd you grow up, Liz?
I grew up in Milwaukee, apparently the most racist city. But I grew up with two parents, and I grew up in the church.
Oh, that's good.
And it gave me a great set of morals. So come on now. Don't be so judgmental. We're not all that bad.
No, I'm not. I did acknowledge, Liz, that some of you are just delightful and lovely. You know, one thing that I'll say about the whites that I really like about you all, you guys can make a real nice casserole. I love me a good casserole.
Yet I've never made a casserole. I'm going to have to work on that.
Liz, where in Milwaukee did you grow up? If I had to guess, I'd say probably south of the freeway. You a South Sider, Liz?
Grew up on 54th and Howard.
Okay, yeah,
Or
that
no
would
black-
qualify. Okay. How old are you, Liz? Do you mind me asking? Because it gives me a
Sure.
context.
53.
Oh, 50. Okay. And where do you live now?
I live across the street from the airport in a nice, diverse neighborhood.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Liz, for being one of the good whites.
Yeah, you guys. Go on, be nice now.
That sounded a little racist. Like, be nice now, nigger. She had to. All right now. I like you blacks. I tolerate you. I had a black nanny. Even when they are trying to be accommodating, there's always a little tinge of, hey, nigger. You better shut your mouth and love me. All right, I'm going to take a break, come back. We're going to get into this Supreme Court decision, and I have to be very careful in how I explain it because once you hear the details of this case, it involves racial profiling and stopping and searching an African-American man. Okay, so a very familiar scenario. In fact, the man who was stopped, this happened at the end of 2020. Dante J. Carter was hanging out with some friends. He, of course, and his friends are all black. And they are hanging out in an area of Washington, D.C. that is known for pretty excessive gun violence. And those of you that are familiar with Washington, D.C., it is a very violent city. And I am also including the president of the United States in that violence, you see. And so there was an interaction between Dante J. Carter and the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police. A firearm, a stolen firearm, was recovered from Mr. Dante J. Carter's person. What happened after that is the stuff of legend. So I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I'm going to get to the details of it, and also want to reinforce the importance of the appellate court. Appeals courts are sometimes, in my opinion, much more important than state Supreme Courts or the U.S. Supreme Court or circuit courts because they look at evidence differently. The appellate court has the power to overturn and reverse a ruling. The appellate court, in some cases, can act like the Innocence Project and release people that were wrongly convicted. In fact, one of our state Supreme Court justices, Rebecca Dallett, when she was on the circuit court, had one of her decisions reversed by the appellate court, which freed a black man in very similar circumstances to the situation about Dante J. Carter. When I come back, we're going to talk about this case that has sent shockwaves through the nation and has changed the dynamic of how African-American men in particular deal with and interact with the police when it comes to a stop. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth. The Truth.
414-248-4954.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Al is questioning, not that Al, because that Al would never question the title of today's program, the pull-out method. And it's referring to when do you pull out your oppressed card. If you're a woman, when do you say, oh, this is only happening to me because I'm a woman? If you are white, when do you pull out your white card and say, oh, this is unfair, I'm being treated unfairly because I'm a white person? If you're a black person, when do you pull out your race card? Now, I would argue that we are overusing our cards, because now, think about it for a second. Everybody has a card. You know those weird freaks that have like a service pigeon? You know them people? Because you can have any kind of animal as a service animal or an emotional support animal. I've seen people with a rat. They got a rat. Oh, this is my emotional support animal. And you can't say anything to that person about them having a pet rat because and they want to take them on airplanes and stuff. It's really weird. Because they'll even pull out their card. Oh, you're discriminating against me because I have a pet duck. Quack, 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 quack. And they got a duck on a leash. Everybody has a card. It's like people always taking for black folks because we were the original card carriers, weren't we? Because, you know, racism is a thing. Hey, you're hanging me from this tree because I'm black. Shut up, nigger. It's because I don't like the way you smile. No, it's not. It's because I'm black. Shut up, nigga. Probably should stop using the N-word so much. It's a very useful word, though. So that is what the title is referring to. Aaron said, oh, I stopped pulling out years ago. Aaron, you mean you don't ever pull your race card out ever? Never? You just leave your race card inserted? You pull your race card out, Xavier, or do you leave it in the slot?
I never really pull it out.
Okay. Like to leave it in?
I always
Fair enough.
leave it in there.
That's a matter of personal preference. I'm trying to think of when I pull my race card out. I don't put myself, and I'm lucky maybe, or I don't know, maybe smart, maybe a combination of both, where I rarely put myself in places and spaces and situations where I may be judged because of my race. In this city, I know where to go. And that's one of the things about Milwaukee. That's how I know if you're a true Milwaukeean, because you will know the places to go. It's a new fly-by-night spot opening up every single day. We have reached critical mass. There's too many restaurants. There's too many. I've had enough. Everybody don't need Mexican, Asian, Indian fusion cuisine with craft cocktails. We have too many breweries. There's too many. I got micro brews, and we got the home brews. These bearded white dudes that wear flannel shirts that just sit around and make beer. Enough! It's too much of that stuff. This city is too small. Our market is too small for all of the stuff. It's like people go on the internet and see an idea that's happening in like New York or Seattle or Los Angeles. Oh, we got to bring that to Milwaukee. No, you don't. You don't have to bring everything here. In fact, we'd rather you just go there. Don't bring all that stuff here. Sometimes I ride around this city. I don't even know where I'm at. So we're wondering when you pull out your card, because it seems that everybody has one. including a gentleman by the name of Dante Carter from the Washington Post. Dante Carter was standing on a Washington, D.C. sidewalk in late 2020 when police officers looking for illegal firearms asked him if he had a gun. Police had no specific reason to approach Carter, and he could have refused a request to pull up his pants like the police asked him to. And that move led to the discovery of a .40 caliber pistol that had not only been stolen, the .40 caliber pistol that Dante Carter had on his person was stolen from an FBI agent's car. But a court threw out his entire conviction after factoring in that Black Americans like Carter are in fact disproportionately subject to police violence, so he may have felt compelled to comply. I'm going to stop right there. Legally and legitimately, when the police approached him, because they had no reason to, he wasn't doing anything illegal. He was just hanging out, standing with a group of his friends. Because there's a lot of gun violence in the area, the police wanted to question him. Now, remember, if they don't have probable cause to question you, you do not have to answer any questions. And that is protected by the Fourth and the Fifth Amendment. You don't have to say anything to them. He could have walked away. But because there is a documented history of negative encounters between African Americans, yes, even innocent ones, and the police, he felt compelled to comply. The cops asked him to pull his pants up, which he did not have to do legally. He could have simply walked away. But when he pulled his pants up, because he felt this overwhelming urge to comply, because you got to think about it, a cop can still kill you. And a lot of folks don't think that way. We also asked you a question via the YouTube poll, which is something that we do most days. And the question is, does race have an impact on police encounters? And I'm genuinely curious, how do the people who participate in this program, that listen to this program, that stream this program, feel about race and its interaction with police encounters? Because there's a cohort of people that will say, well, Sherwin, if you just comply, it doesn't matter what your race is. If the police tell you to do something, you just do it. It should not matter what your race is. I find that unique and rich coming from someone who never has to worry about their race impacting their life. The only time race could potentially impact a white person's life is when they are somewhere they are not supposed to be, around a group of people that they know they shouldn't be around. Then they feel nervous. Let me give you an example. My white friends will take me all over the place. And I got to be real careful. So when they ask me stuff like, dude, what are you doing at 4:00 tomorrow? I have to get a lot of detail, because it could be somewhere between, because they do all sorts of stuff. It's somewhere between, we're going to hop on a plane and fly to Calgary to watch a hockey game, or we're going to bomb an abortion clinic. It's somewhere in between those two. So I need to be very specific in what it is that they're asking me to do. And they don't think anything of it, because they might invite me along to activities that they thoroughly enjoy. And they might say, oh, we like Sherwin. We want to see if he wants to come and bomb an abortion clinic. I'm somewhat kidding about the bombing of the abortion clinic. Somewhat. But if I ask my white friends to come and join me at a spot where the clientele is predominantly Black, then they always have a little skepticism, don't they? Like, it's weird when I have skepticism about a white venue that they're taking me to, because they're like, oh, Sherwin, why would you at all feel uneasy about that? We love going to this place. Of course you do, Casper. But then if I suggest going to a majority Black establishment, they, well, am I going to be safe? And I always mess with them. And I say, absolutely not. You are absolutely going to get robbed. And I might be the one to rob you. Yeah. Oh, that's not funny. It is, kind of. But there'll be a cohort of people that will say, oh, Sherwin, race doesn't matter. Because if you grew up in a world where race did not matter, because white people, contrary to popular belief, they don't talk about race that much. They don't. When they're sitting around doing white people stuff, eating stovetop stuffing, they don't talk about the lack of racial progress in America. They don't talk about how Black history is not compulsory in public education. They really don't even bother nor burden themselves with the preoccupation with us. I think we seem to think that they're preoccupied with us. However, white guys are preoccupied with Black men's penises. 100% true. They're intimidated by it. They're curious by it. They sometimes want it to like be a part of a fetish that they have with their wives. True story. I know some of you are probably blushing right now. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They have this obsession with our junk. It's really weird because we don't have an obsession with their junk or the lack thereof. So the situation does look at race and police encounters, and this very conservative U.S. Supreme Court came up with a ruling that is respective of the different interactions that races may have when they are approached by the police. A court threw out Mr. Carter's conviction after factoring in that Americans like Carter are disproportionately subject to police violence, so he may have felt compelled to comply. I'm going to stop there, take a break, come back. I'm going to talk about the court ruling that actually says Black men have different kinds of latitude when we are approached by the police because of the history of negative interactions between Black people and Black men and the police. And a conservative Supreme Court essentially left intact an appellate court ruling. This is the appeals court. You got to keep this in mind. This man stole a gun from an FBI agent and was released from jail because the court decided that, well, he felt like he needed to comply with the police, even though they had no reason to talk to him. They had no reason to search him. He did have a stolen FBI firearm on him. If you're that FBI agent, you got to feel like a new fool. How do you get your gun stolen by Mr. Carter, by Dante Carter? Ain't that crazy? I want to pick the story up on the other side. You were listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
At Versity on King, we believe taking care of our community starts right here, together. Every day, neighbors step up to donate blood, helping save lives in Milwaukee and beyond. But Versity on King is more than a donor center. It's a place for health education, community connection, and support, especially for families facing conditions like sickle cell disease. When you donate blood, you're not just giving, you're showing up for your community. Visit versity.org/VersityOnKing to learn more or schedule your donation today. Versity on King, rooted in community, powered by hope.
Natural gas.
Watching the tide roll away.
Otis Redding, these legendary soul singers, chartered twin-engine Beechcraft 18 crashed into Wisconsin's Lake Monona. Did you know that Otis Redding died in Wisconsin? Did you know that Sitting on the Dock of the Bay was released after that plane crash? It was released posthumously. Did you know that? Did you know that he clearly never saw a penny of the revenue from that song that was released after his plane crash? And when I say his music catalog absolutely exploded, that was an understatement. You know who else died in a plane crash whose music catalog absolutely exploded? And if I'm not mistaken, her estate is seeing $0 from the explosion of her music catalog after she too died in a plane crash. R&B singer known as Aaliyah. Did you know that Patsy Cline, famed country swing singer, died in a plane crash March 5th, 1963, and her music catalog exploded after the plane crash? Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, February 3rd, 1959, died in a plane crash and their music catalogs exploded. Jim Croce, September 20th, 1973, plane crash, music catalog exploded. Leonard Skinner, October 20th, 1977, the Southern rock band's chartered Convair CV-300 ran out of fuel and crashed into a Mississippi forest. Something's going on now. Just saying, wanted to throw that in there just to add a little fuel to the fire of you conspiracy theorists. I just find it very unusual. But when I found, because I thought that Otis Redding like toured and performed that song. No, he was dead and he died in Wisconsin. How disrespectful of Wisconsin. However, this new Supreme Court ruling could make up for it. Dante Carter was standing on a Washington, D.C. sidewalk in 2020 when police officers looking for illegal firearms asked if he had a gun. Police had zero specific reason to approach Carter, and he could have refused the request to hike up his pants, a move that led to the discovery of a .40 caliber pistol that had been stolen from an FBI agent's car 2 months earlier. But a court threw out his conviction after factoring in that Black Americans like Carter are disproportionately subject to police violence, so he may have felt compelled to comply. The U.S. Supreme Court on June 22nd, 2026, declined to review that decision, including whether the racial factors the lower court cited. Remember, the lower court said, they didn't have a reason to search him, to stop him. They released him from jail. The U.S. Supreme Court, Donald Trump's Department of Justice was like, screw that. This dude needs to go back to jail. He stole a gun from an FBI agent. Doesn't matter if the police had a probable cause to find the gun and to search him or not. Donald Trump's Department of Justice appealed to basically their Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court was like, you know what? We stand with the lower court that released him from jail. Black men, in particular, do have a different interaction with the police. I want you to understand how landmark this case is, because a conservative court, almost completely handpicked by Donald Trump, agreed that there is an impact on race when it comes to police encounters. This is a Supreme Court ruling. This is going to reverberate throughout the system. Now, this does not make up for ending DEI and affirmative action, but I feel like they're trying to extend an olive branch. The Supreme Court on June 22nd, 2026, declined to review that decision, including whether the racial factors the lower court cited can be used to determine if someone is free to walk away from an encounter with police. Two of the court's conservative justices said that they would have taken the case. Quote, "It is dangerous to allow an individual to be treated differently based on statistics, studies, or expert testimony." That in and of itself is faulty. That is exactly why you should be able to look at how people are treated based on statistics, studies, and expert testimony. It is dangerous to allow, this is the dissent from Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. It is dangerous to allow an individual to be treated differently based on statistics, studies, or expert testimony that purports to show that members of the racial or ethnic group to which he belongs are more likely to act in a certain way than are members of other groups. That shows how woefully out of touch these two justices are, including one of these justices being Black. We all know from anecdotal evidence, stories from our friends and our family, that if you are Black, your interactions with law enforcement of any kind, it could be a damn park ranger, it's different. We've even witnessed the difference. You can see a group of people, one Black group, one white group, and the white group could obviously be engaged in egregious behavior, but the Black group will get questioned. Two people are fighting, a Black person and a white person. What happens? Who gets arrested? The Black person does. We all know this stuff. And the fact that the two outnumbered conservative justices on this current Supreme Court said, no, everybody acts the same when it comes to interacting with the police.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed.
Welcome to Hour 2 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. We are talking about a landmark case in which the U.S. Supreme Court has thoroughly acknowledged that race does play a role in encounters and contact with the police, and that a man by the name of Dante Carter did act in a way in which the court determined was reasonable for an African American, because reasonable for us means there is undue social pressure to comply with the police, even when the police are violating our rights. And the details of this decision really illustrates what a lot of us have been trying to say and trying to communicate, but it's never really taken seriously or credibly until there is actually a court ruling. And the fact that a very conservative Supreme Court acknowledged that black people have different interactions with the police, and because of the history of racial profiling and all of the other incidents that we are so familiar with when there's a black person, especially a black man, interacting with law enforcement, the court said that undue pressure for black men to comply with the police should not violate a black person's rights. This is a really, really big decision. And so, of course, whenever we have these monumental, once-in-a-generation type of Supreme Court decisions, we want to go to our court expert. Hello, Bob.
Hello, Sherwin. Listen, Clarence Thomas actually vowed for that black man?
No, he did not. He dissented. He was one of the dissenters. Him and Samuel Alito dissented. He did not. He thought that the man should remain in jail, and thought that the search of that black man he was one of the people that were, the other justices thought that race should be a factor in how black people interact with the police, and that there's undue pressure on black people to comply. Justice Clarence Thomas felt the opposite. Even as a black man, he felt.
That sounds like him. The only question I got after that is, and then I get off, have you decided who's going to be governor so I know who to vote for? I mean, come think about it. Tell me, and I'll talk to you later.
Hold on, Bob. Wait. Why am I telling you who to vote for? You old enough to be my pappy. I shouldn't be telling you who to vote for. Who do you want to vote for? Can you name any of the candidates? Let's start there. How many of the candidates? There's 7 of them now. How many of them can you name? Can you name 2?
Sherwin. There were 27 at one time that you said on the air.
What?
27? You said there were 27 candidates for governor at one time last week.
Oh yeah, when I read the, all of the different, and most of those candidates are not serious, and they're from really weird political parties. But of the Democratic candidates that are running, can you name any of them? Any?
Sure. Why are you asking me these hard questions? That's why I ask you. You give us
Bob, hold on, Bob. Stop talking for a second. Stop. Hold on. Don't even laugh. Don't just. Shh. I have been intentional in talking about the Wisconsin race for governor, at least for a segment or two, every single day for probably the last month, consistently. And you can't name a single candidate running for governor. Can you name the Republican at least?
No, Sherwin, look, I'm washing, cooking, eating, mopping, going to the playing my organ. Keyboard. Playing my. I don't have time.
Bob, here, tell you what. I got an answer for you. Because you wanted me to tell you who to vote for, correct?
Yeah. So I know who to. Yeah.
Because you can't name a single candidate, and you do all those other things, right? Bob, stop laughing now. You do all those other things, but I do know you're worse than a woman. Stop talking. You do all the.
Go ahead.
You do all those other things, but damn it, I'll choke you.
Sorry.
You do all of those.
I'm sorry.
God damn it! I swear to God.
Okay.
You also listen to this show pretty regularly, and I know that I'm intentional in talking about these candidates running for governor. Okay, because you call damn near every day, and you can't name one. Think real hard.
Oh, so
Let's do it together.
You want to embarrass me more.
You're embarrassing yourself. Here's what I'm going to tell you. What I got an answer for you. You call, let me be nice. I'm being mean. I don't want to be nice because people always come down on me when I'm not nice to you. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna tell you exactly what you should do. August 11th, and I believe the general election is on November 3rd. Don't vote for anybody. Don't vote at all.
No, I gotta vote.
Okay, then who you gonna vote? Okay, who you gonna vote for then? If you gotta vote, who? Name one person.
Sherwin, you're gonna tell me who to vote for. You're gonna say who you're gonna vote for. Now, you're embarrassing me more.
Fine,
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
All right, fine.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
All right, you want me to tell you who to vote for?
Yeah.
Vote for Jackie McClucken. That is who the candidate is that you're going to be. Jackie McClucken. Can you remember that name?
Yeah, McClucken. Yeah, McClucken. Are you serious or are you playing? I don't know if you're serious. I'll look up Jackie McClucken. I don't even know how you spell that name, McClucken. Does she cook? Tell me, does she cook? Talk to you later.
So for all of you that give me a hard time because you think that I'm not very nice to Bob, did you hear that? That is why I know damn well that I've even mentioned the black candidates, even the little Asian lady. I mentioned them by name, the lieutenant governor. And first of all, Jackie McClucken don't exist. I guarantee you, Bob is going to look up somebody named Jackie McClucken and going to call back tomorrow and say, you know what, Sherwin? I like that Jackie McClucken. Oh, yeah. Worse than a woman. Bob, stop talking. Okay, go ahead. Bob, shut up. Okay, I will shut up. Go ahead, Sherwin. Bob, stop talking. What you mean, stop talking? Sorry, ladies, that's not. But you guys know that that's what you guys do. You just can't stop talking just to even listen to another person because the other person might be right. So you have to make sure that they don't get their words out because they're going to make you look silly. You know what? Speaking of this latest Supreme Court ruling or allowing an appellate court decision to stand, I don't know if this ruling should apply to Bob. I think that every time the police interact with him, and you guys know about the last time Bob had police interaction, right? Were you guys listening to that show where he had to use the bathroom and for some reason he couldn't get a key to unlock the bathroom at a gas station and he peed on the side of the gas station building? And then the police came up to him with a little tallywhacker hanging out. Why do I come here every day? Like, I don't. He couldn't name a single. He couldn't even name the Francesca Hong, Mandela Barnes, David Crowley, Joel Brennan, Sarah Rodriguez. Am I not getting through to people? You know what I've noticed sometimes? I will say something 48 times. It'll be the exact same thing. I'll repeat the story. I'll do the headline again and again and again. And it could be Sherwin Hughes rides his bike at the lakefront. I could say that sentence 47 times. Sherwin Hughes rides his bike at the lakefront. Someone will call in the show and say, oh, Sherwin, I heard you took a plane to Florida. Like, I'll say something. I said the same thing. I learned this from Mr. Gerald Jones many, many years ago. He said, Sherwin, you got to repeat yourself incessantly in hopes that people remember what you said. This is not an MPS problem, clearly. There's something in the water here. In a surprising ruling, the Supreme Court upheld a ruling that the race of a person who has been stopped by the police can factor into that person's perception of the encounter in ways that impact their constitutional rights. The ruling reaffirms the idea that black men have a, quote, reasonable belief that they are not free to walk away from police stops and that police, therefore, may have a greater duty to protect a stopped person's rights in such cases. On Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to take up an appeal in the case United States versus Dante J. Carter, involving a man who was stopped by police and ultimately arrested when police discovered he was carrying a stolen gun. I just want to pause right there for a second, because imagine when those police officers that had no reason to stop him, had no reason to question him, and had no reason to tell him to pull his pants up, and when he did all of those things to comply because he felt undue pressure to comply because he is black, and I'm sure Dante is familiar with interactions with the police and how they can go. Could you imagine if they would have killed him? Think about that for a second. Because a lot of times if the cops discover a gun, that's all they need. Gun! And then they open fire on him. Could you imagine that? Now, this case has now changed the trajectory on stops and searches and stops and frisks, because now the police have additional duty to protect the constitutional rights of black men who feel like we have none when we get stopped by the police. This is putting more burden on the police to go above and beyond to protect black men. Never thought I'd see the day. But you got a liberal court in Wisconsin that voted 7-0 to take away DEI. At the same time, we have a referendum on the ballot in November that is going to solidify it in the Constitution. It is a crazy world that we live in, where the U.S. Supreme Court has rendered basically a non-decision on an appellate court case that looks at race in a way that liberals in Wisconsin can't. I'm so sick of y'all. I'm just sick of it. You know what I need to do? I need to go on vacation. Where should I go on vacation?
Brazil.
Not that far. I don't want to do any international travel because I'm just not certain about how Americans are viewed by other nations. And also, if I have an issue, I'm not sure if I can trust the State Department and whatever the embassy is and whoever Donald Trump put in as an ambassador. Well, where can I go for this, like a little long weekend? You know what I mean? A little Thursday through Monday or Tuesday, because I need
New Orleans.
Oh yeah, I go to New Orleans.
There you go.
I heard you don't even got to go during Mardi Gras. New Orleans is just fun and wild. You been there?
No, it's on my to-do list this summer.
Okay. I just wish I could fly direct. I don't like layovers because they're inconvenient. Okay, maybe I'll go to New Orleans. And just my luck, right when I land, maybe I rent me a car. Maybe I take a Uber from the airport to my Airbnb, because I prefer to stay in an Airbnb over a hotel. And my next door neighbor in my Airbnb, hello, Sherwin. I heard you was coming to New Orleans. I still don't know who to vote for. What I say to person? Jackie McCluckin? I think that's okay. I guarantee you somebody out there is going to be looking up Jackie McCluckin. Carter's lawyers argued that he did not feel that he was free to walk away from the police stop, which made the encounter, quote, a seizure based on the amendment. Under such circumstances, Carter's legal team argued police did not have proper basis for detaining him and thus finding the gun. While this argument did not succeed during Carter's original trial, the D.C. Court of Appeals, there we go talking about appellate courts again. Appellate courts are very important. They almost act like innocence projects. The D.C. Court of Appeals accepted this explanation. Its ruling hinged on the standard of what a, quote, what a person would reasonably believe about the police encounter in similar circumstances. The appeals court accepted the argument that, as a black man, Carter might reasonably feel, based on his experiences, that he was not free to walk away from police, whereas a different person of a different race might perceive the encounter very differently and actually walk away. This appeals court ruling thus allows for a race-conscious determination of what is reasonable concerning a person's interactions with the cops. By declining to intervene, the U.S. Supreme Court is allowing this race-conscious standard, which could lead to legal protections being granted more strictly for black people in circumstances like those Carter faced, based on how race and lived experience can factor into such encounters. This basically solidifies with the U.S. Supreme Court how we feel and have always felt when we interact with the police. Now, please be careful with this information. This don't mean you can go up to a white cop and cuss him out. Don't push it now. But you don't have to feel unnecessarily and unconstitutionally obligated to comply with the police. Now, this is the other thing. Now, it also depends on the circumstances. If they have probable cause to stop you or to pull you over, none of this applies. But if you're just minding your own business, not bothering nobody called the police on you, you're not a suspect in a crime, and a cop says, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? You can walk away. You don't have to say a word to them. If a cop says, hey, pull your pants up, you can walk away. But Mr. Carter did not feel that he could walk away, because sometimes if you walk away from a cop, they will shoot you in the back. And because he felt obligated to comply, even though the stop was unconstitutional because they had no probable cause, they did find a gun on him that he stole from an FBI agent 2 months prior. They had no legitimate reason to talk to him in the first place. He could have walked away. Here's what's crazy. He would have walked away with an FBI agent's gun. It's kind of a complicated situation, but if you look at the nuances of it, which is what is so important about decisions like these, and what's also so important about policy, you can't always have a simple solution to a very complex problem. And so when I dissect this court case, for me, it's very, very simple. But for other folks, you have to really read between the lines to see what is happening in this case, because technically the U.S. Supreme Court didn't do anything. They declined to rule and accepted a lower court and appellate court, the D.C. Circuit. Let me also tell you about the D.C. Circuit. Those judges that are on the D.C. Circuit, those are the next judges to be on the U.S. Supreme Court. This bodes well for the future. So when presidents are looking for justices to nominate to the Supreme Court, they start with the D.C. Circuit. And if the D.C. Circuit realizes and recognizes that a person's race can impact their encounter with the police, I think this bodes well for the future of the court. I'm going to take a break, come back. We'll talk to Andy on the other side, see what he has to say. If you would like to chime in, you've got questions or comments, I don't know, concerns. If you don't know who's running for governor in Wisconsin, our phone number is 833-212-1017, 833-212-1017. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
When I met both of them, it was like my missing pieces were found. Like it was just like an instant.
Oh man, I ain't seen you in a long time. Brother, come on in, man. Sit on down and relax yourself, get your shoes off.
Not really a city girl, being a little smart aleck. Says, be kind, Sherwin, because you do repeat stories and tell them like it's the very first time your older age is coming. First of all, when I repeat stories, somebody is hearing them for the first time. Genius. Just because you listen a lot and you've heard all my stories 57 times, there are some people that are actually hearing my name for the very first time when they tune into the show. So there are some stories that I tell that are absolutely evergreen. There'll always be a time and a place for me to tell them, because every time I say something on this microphone, somebody is hearing it for the first time. Like Bob just heard about one of the gubernatorial candidates for the first time. Let's talk to Andy. Andy, do you have some travel suggestions for me? What are you eating potato chips? Slow down, Andy.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Cheetos. Yeah, but before I get to travel, can I just to your subject? I appreciate that the Supreme Court sat on their hands on this one. Do you have any sense why they said they did that?
It was an acknowledgement of documented fact and history. And the appellate court established that documented fact and history when they released this man from his confinement, and the Supreme Court could not find reasonable enough facts to intervene and overturn that decision.
Okay, good enough. It's interesting. Yeah, like when the law works. Yeah, about travel, I wanted to tell you, don't be afraid to go to Brazil. Like your friend Xavier said, here's the trick, and I learned this. You have to wear a funny hat or wear something kind of colorful, and no one's going to know you're from America. They'll think you're from Australia or Germany. I swear, if you just do anything to kind of like a felt hat or something, I'm not kidding you either. So don't let that you got to travel.
So a felt hat, and then no one will know that I'm from America. They'll think I'm from somewhere else. Okay. Have you ever been to Brazil?
Yes,
Andy?
well, no, but I wouldn't. I understand what you're saying because I don't. We're not very popular, but I would go to Brazil and I would wear some kind of hat. It doesn't have to be felt. It could be straw, just something that doesn't look American. And I know it works.
I bet you wear those kind of hats just when you're walking around Milwaukee. I bet you've got a nice collection of unusual hats, don't you?
Yeah, it's natural for me, but it feels natural. No one knows whether it is or not. No one's going to know that Sherwin Hughes doesn't wear a felt hat day to day. Now, if you wear a Milwaukee Brewers cap, of course they're not going to like you.
Thank you, Andy. That is really sound advice. In fact, that is sage advice, and I really appreciate you calling and sharing that with me. You have enriched my life.
Yeah, well, I just hate the idea of you not taking advantage of your position in life and getting out and traveling to wherever you want to. And I think you'd really like Brazil, given what I've seen in the magazines or what have you. So,
a lot of pretty women in Brazil.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of beaches.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
You know the voice. Now get the unfiltered version. When the mic goes live on Hughes Views 414, the gloves come off. Real talk, raw opinions, no corporate filters, no radio clock. Just honest conversations about Milwaukee politics, national headlines, culture, and the viral stories everybody's talking about. Join me, Sherwin Hughes, live weekdays from 7 until 8 p.m. and jump into the YouTube chat where your voice is a part of the show in real time. If it's trending, controversial, inspiring, or affecting our community, you'll hear it on Hughes Views 414. Watch, chat, share, like, subscribe. Welcome to Hour 3 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. It's a pretty serious idea that is being floated. I just want folks to be aware that when somebody introduces an idea that sounds good, because who doesn't want to save money on their utility bills? Can I tell you guys how much my latest We Energies bill was? It's not personal. I don't care. It's $101 for the month. That's not a lot. And I charge a vehicle. Now, little secret. If you work during the day and if you're not home during the day and nobody is home at your house during the day, you can, if you call We Energies, I think there might even be a way you can do it through their website, but I would call them. So at 9 p.m., you can suggest, so you get a lower rate at night and on the weekends. I think the kilowatt hours, which I'm not going to get into the details of how much electricity that is like 50 cents per kilowatt hour of electricity. So if you look at your bill, which is a bunch of like letters and abbreviations, you're charged on average about 50 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity that you use what we call on peak times. So between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. But off peak is starting at 9 p.m. until 9 a.m., you're only paying 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So when I get home from work or get home from doing my meetings and my errands and whatever it is, I plug my vehicle in, but I can set my vehicle to not begin charging until I go off peak, until We Energies has the lower rates. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you can do this with your regular home energy bill. If you don't use much electricity during the day, you can have like a plan where the majority of the electricity that you use is at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So that is a way in which people can currently save money with We Energies, because a lot of folks are just reckless, and also just being smart about how you use electricity. If you're not in the room, you don't need all the lights on, you don't need to have the TV on. And so if people are interested in saving money on their electric bills, there's some personal responsibility things that we can do. But that being said, if We Energies is a private company and they want to make a profit for themselves and for their shareholders, and if they are doing it at the expense of customers that don't have another option of where to get power from, well, then it's reasonable and legitimate to want to introduce competition, because monopolies generally are not fair. But there's a real reason why. I want folks to know and understand this reason why a particular subset of Democrats want to expel We Energies, because We Energies provides power for data centers. Even if the damn data centers are not in our backyard, Democratic socialists hate AI data centers because they blame AI and the proliferation of it of really hurting the American worker, because AI may replace a lot of jobs. So that's one of their, organizing tools. They hate AI data centers, which is also a reason why they came into the second aldermanic district in a majority black community to oppose the development at Midtown. They had very little interest in what that development could bring years down the road. They just didn't like the fact that 12% of the Midtown development, a very small percentage of it, 12% of the overall square footage, would be dedicated to a computer research facility. Screw everything else. Forget the fact that there's going to be a library and affordable housing. And maybe they say, oh, the library and affordable housing is good. But whenever there's a conversation about computers using electricity that could be considered a data center or a research center, Democratic socialists will step over and step on the necks of people in communities to oppose such developments. That's just what they do. So the idea and the suggestion that we should shed We Energies as our power provider, yeah, maybe there's some legitimacy to it, because they do get to raise rates, and that does cost consumers more money, and consumers don't have another power company to buy their electricity from. But know the reason why these people are behind wanting to excise We Energy. Now, let me give you the details that they're not going to share about how difficult a proposal this actually would be. Could Milwaukee stop using We Energies and create its own public electric utility? Legally, yes. Is it easy? No. Is it guaranteed to lower rates and improve reliability? Absolutely not. Let me continue. In reality, Milwaukee would be attempting one of the largest municipal utility takeovers in modern American history, because Milwaukee is not served by a small local utility. It is served by a major regional system operated by We Energies, which serves more than 1.1 million electric customers and is part of a larger WEC Energy Group network. Phase 1, political approval. So I'm going to give you how long this would take. And some of you might still be very committed to the idea, but if you're going to be committed to the idea, let's get all the information out there first, because here's what I don't want. For a lot of people to say, yeah, this is a great idea, and they're going to start calling their alderperson, and they're going to start letting this decision to remove Milwaukee from We Energies guide their political decisions and their voting decisions. So before you get to that level of commitment, let's talk about how long it's going to take. Phase 1, and there are at least 4 phases to this, political approval. Milwaukee would first need to, 1, do a city feasibility study. 2, legal authority under Wisconsin law, so there would be legislation that is needed at the state level, signed by the governor, and we don't even know who the damn next governor is going to be, let alone the next governor may not be in support of this proposal. Side note on that, Sarah Rodriguez, the current lieutenant governor, did cast a vote in favor of We Energies, giving them a tax loophole, and then she got caught with her pants down at a candidate forum fairly recently, because she said that what she voted for to give We Energies a tax loophole, she said, oh, Governor Evers signed that bill. Sarah Rodriguez is like, oh, I'm not the only one that supported it. Here's where she screwed up. Evers vetoed the bill. Next, you would need approval from the Common Council. You would need potential state legislative changes ongoing, and it would have to go to a damn referendum. Okay? That's just phase one. Let me repeat it again. The city would have to do a feasibility study. Legal authority under, like Wisconsin law, would have to first permit it. Next, you would need approval by the Common Council. Then you would need state law changes signed by the governor to allow Milwaukee to even consider exploring the idea of getting rid of We Energies. And we would need a damn referendum. All right? Before a single wire changes ownership, attorneys, engineers, accountants, and regulators would spend the next several years determining what assets are inside Milwaukee. What are those assets worth? How can they be legally acquired? We Energies might be like, yeah, we're not selling y'all the grid. We're going to sell you 5% of it. You got to make your own grid. All of this stuff is realistic. And then also, who is going to pay? That part alone could take years. Now we're at phase two. Buying the infrastructure. You know how long that would take? Between 3 and 8 years. This is where costs become enormous. Milwaukee cannot simply tell We Energies to leave. The city would have to purchase. And first of all, we ain't got no money, right? If you were dating the city of Milwaukee, if the city of Milwaukee hit you up in your DMs and asked you to go out on a date, you know where the city of Milwaukee could afford to take your ass on a date? A park. Couldn't even afford to buy you a coffee. If the city of Milwaukee was someone you were dating, they would suggest your first date is you go for a walk by the lake because we ain't got no money. The city cannot simply tell We Energies to leave. The city would have to purchase all of the distribution lines, all of the electrical substations, all of the transformers, all of the control systems, all of the operation centers, all of the service vehicles, all of the maintenance equipment to maintain the grid, and all of the property and easements. Potentially thousands of miles of infrastructure would need to be valued and transferred. Much of the system is integrated with regional facilities serving customers outside of Milwaukee. Determining what belongs to Milwaukee versus the broader system would be extraordinarily complex and would take years and millions of dollars. What would it cost? No one knows for sure without a formal evaluation, which I'm sure at some point we will get, but here's what we know so far. We Energy Group reports $39 billion in assets. Milwaukee contains some of the most valuable proportions of those assets. A purchase, at minimum, tens of billions of dollars. Where you gonna get the money from? Milwaukee ain't got no damn money. Milwaukee, if it was personified, it'd be a YN walking around with her pockets flipped out like rabbit ears. Our budget, the whole city budget for everything, is $2 billion. To purchase, to start the conversation about purchasing the We Energies assets just to power Milwaukee, $10 billion. So we need 5 city budgets worth of money. And this doesn't even hire the engineers. So when the power goes out and you need somebody to go and fix the power line, you want to see Russell Stamper climbing up a damn electricity pole and fixing the wire. I'm over here. I'm going to fix the electricity. You know how in the cartoons when somebody touches 2 live electricity wires and you see their skeleton? That'd be Russell Stamper up there on the pole. Oh, damn, I just got electrocuted. Milwaukee contains some of the most valuable portions of the assets in the system. A purchase could easily run into the tens of billions of dollars. Many municipalization efforts around the country have spent tens of millions of dollars simply fighting over the valuation before they can actually buy any part of the infrastructure. The funding source would likely be municipal bonds, revenue bonds, and utility debt. You know what that means? They're going to raise your taxes, boo-boo. You think your We Energies rates are high now? Wait until they have to raise their property tax levy every single year to finance the debt that the city would have to take out to even start the fight to buy We Energies assets. Ultimately, ratepayers would repay that debt through future utility bills. So whatever money we would save wouldn't be for a generation or more. Phase 3, create a utility company. This part right here would take 5 years. Once acquired, Milwaukee would need to create either an elected utility board of commissioners, appointed commissioners, and city council oversight. The city would also need, I'm just giving you all the details of what would be necessary if we were to break off from We Energy and start our own municipal power company. City of Milwaukee would need line workers, engineers, dispatchers, system operators, cybersecurity specialists, outage management staff, customer service representatives, and billing personnel. Many would likely be hired directly from We Energies, and here's the problem. They now would be city workers, so guess what? You're going to be paying for their pensions. The reason why we had to raise our sales taxes by a full 2% in the city of Milwaukee was to pay for police officers' pensions. Imagine if we're adding line workers, engineers, dispatchers, system operators, cybersecurity specialists, outage management staff, customer service representatives, and billing personnel to the number of city employees. And these are $100,000 jobs, y'all. And we're going to be paying their pensions as well. Our sales tax would have to double. But again, you guys are mad that We Energies is raising your rates, which I totally get. But we are going to end up paying more in city taxes and sales taxes to even begin this process. And I'm still not done. Phase 4, secure a power supply. This is the part that everybody overlooks, including the people that are in support of this proposal. Owning poles and wires does not mean producing electricity. Milwaukee would still need power. Option A, buy electricity wholesale. The city would purchase power from generators and then resell it. Many municipalities do exactly that. Or option B, build generating facilities. Milwaukee could build natural gas plants, solar farms, battery storage, and wind projects. If we built a natural gas plant, you know how much more pollution we're going to have in the city of Milwaukee? If we have to have battery storage facilities, those are like data centers. Yeah, that's right. The people that hate the data centers would need a damn data center if we're going to break away from We Energy. Ain't nobody thought about that part. How long would it take? I'm going to take a break, come back. I'm going to tell you exactly how long it would take before we could actually have our own power utility here in the city of Milwaukee. So we know the cost is probably going to exceed $20 billion, which, of course, you were going to pay for in increased sales taxes and property taxes and increased utility bills. Okay? And then there's the amount of time all this would take. We're going to talk about that on the other side. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Talking about guns with others might not always feel comfortable, but
1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
If I ever fall in love again, I'll be a friend. It's gonna be a friend. I ever fall in love again, I'll be a friend. Yeah. I like them cool and kinda cocky, not too much to make them move. And try to lock me, try to take away the jewels. You cannot stop it, gotta understand the rules. I've been the type to wear the heart on my sleeve. Been the one to always choose the wrong play. Not the type to ever see me lonely. I keep my socks on during loving. In and out, baby, in and out, yeah.
Shout out to DJ Brother Z. He made me a fresh Mandela. He made me he got the ratio right too. You got to get the right ratio. Is that grape jelly? If not grape, what is it?
Strawberry, he says.
Ooh, strawberry. I got me a strawberry Mandela. Mandela's never tasted so good. Pause! Speaking of which, hi, Al. How are you?
I'm doing good, but since you brought Mandela up, you should ask Mandela Barnes to come on your show, because you know he got these ads going out talking about the first African American governor trying to be. So maybe he can explain to the Black Trust, since it's power and trust, what he gonna do for Black folks. And then you should ask Crowley also to come on to your show. And then he can explain what's up with that blue promotional. You know, Fraggle Rock with the eyes and the teeth. He can come on here and explain what he going to do for black people, because this is in Black We Trust. Moving forward, I know y'all talked about We Energies. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Racine controls or runs We Energies for Milwaukee, because I remember when I used to call the 1-800 number, they would give me the 286 number because they said Racine controls what goes on in Milwaukee, and they've been controlling it since 2008. And I recall I had asked the young lady on the phone, why the hell is Racine controlling anything for goddamn Milwaukee? And she said, well, I can't comment on that. So if they're going to purchase it from Racine, and furthermore, why is We Energies doing anything from Racine for Milwaukee? And if you're really trying to go for We Energies, don't y'all think y'all should fix these potholes first? Before it seems like y'all got y'all standards and your priorities effed up. You need to fix the streets first. You going for the big fish, and you can't even get the bluegills out the pond yet. So we need to figure all that out. Bam, bam, boom. We got all these potholes over the city, but somebody want to try to purchase We Energies. Now, ain't Milwaukee the biggest trick? Don't all our money goes out to all these places, and ain't everybody eating off Milwaukee?
Yes.
Is that true?
That's true, yeah.
Okay, so why is they trying to go for the big fish? We're just like the congregation to the pastor.
That's right.
We're nothing but his whores and his prostitutes that pay him every Sunday. So why the hell is we trying to purchase We Energies and we can't even take care of the little bull sugar honey iced tea that we hit every freaking day and night? Explain that to me, and I'll hang up and listen. But since we have two black governors running, and this is Black Trust, they can scoot they black ass to the trust. Because then they come on the other show, the other 12 o'clock show or something like that.
I think so.
Well, they can scoot right on to your show, because your show is educational, okay? And you can ask them, see, because I know on the other shows, you know, they don't really get down and dirty. They don't really get down in the trenches and ask them things that make them feel uncomfortable. We want to know.
Thank you, Al.
That's it. We want to know. Don't tell us what we want to hear. Tell us what we need to know. So either we'll rock with you or we'll let you rot like a dead raccoon and a dead possum on a Mississippi dirt road. Because, you know, after you run over them, the stinking funk from the death is all on the bottom of the car that you can smell for the next 15 miles until you hit another pothole. I want you to have yourself a good day, okay? I'm going to go get me something to eat. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. First of all, no one is skeeting on my show. Okay? No, there's going to be no scooting and no skeeting. I don't know what Nitty and Shannon did on their show. I don't know if there was any skeeting or ain't nobody skeeting over. If anybody going to be doing some skeeting, I'm going to be doing the skeeting. Okay. I got to tell you.
All up in their booty hole.
Let's talk. Al from Sherman Park. You're on 101.7 The Truth.
Hey, how you doing, Sherwin?
I don't know.
This idea about running our own power plants, especially from Democratic Socialists, they don't understand anything. They have the mindset of toddlers. They think everything is easy. And I'm saying this from the standpoint, I used to be a summer employee at the power plant for We Energies, and my father was an engineer for the power plant. You can't have just one power plant. You're going to have at least three covering the city of Milwaukee. Because if one power plant goes down, for instance, the Valley Power Plant down there by Pottawatomie has two generators. And my father was responsible when they had to you have to alternate the generators. Sometimes you have to take one out of service for a year because you have to deconstruct it, inspect it, repair parts, and put it back together. So when that's down, you may have to rely on the Oak Creek power plant to make up the output difference that would have been if two generators are running at the Valley Power Plant. So we're probably going to have three around the city, if one power plant is out and you got to shift the power around to different stations, do you think we can rely on the city of Milwaukee to restore our power when it's out, when they can't even put in the working lights and get the streets fixed? And the investment that we'd have to put in, the billions of dollars to have 3 power plants and all the engineers to run it and all the trucks, we'd have to go to a bonding situation. Do you think we could afford the bond for the investment for 3 power plants to power our city?
No, I don't know. You bring up good points. Thank you for your call.
You have a good day.
All right, you too. Looking at municipalization efforts around the country. Municipalization. That's the term. The feasibility study in Milwaukee would take between 1 to 2 years. The legal challenges would take between 2 and 5 years. The asset valuation, buying the assets from We Energy and transferring them to Milwaukee would take another 1 to 3 years. Financing would take 1 to 2 years. The full transition for the rest of the things to take place and to fall in place for Milwaukee to start operating its own power company would take an additional 1 to 3 years. Best case scenario, 7 years. More realistic, 15 years. It's going to take 15. And in the meantime, We Energy be like, oh, you want to leave me? You want to leave us? Rate hike, rate hike, rate hike, rate hike, rate hike, rate hike, rate hike. You want to leave, Daddy? Let's talk to the town. You're on 101.7 The Truth. How are you?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. What's on your mind?
Okay, first off, this what I'll say, the other hosts, they just getting their feet wet in it. You know what I'm saying? So give them time.
Give them time. That's
right.
They
give them time. You know what I'm saying? Now, because, you know, and going against like a governor or whatever like that, you know what I'm saying, that already got his ducks in a row, know his talking points and all that stuff, and know where to lead the conversation. Just give them time. They're going to learn. Let them get their reps. Like in football, look at the tape, get better, and they will get better. Both of them. But I like the young flavor that they coming with, though, because different points of view or whatever like that.
Hey, we're rebuilding, aren't we, the town? Just like the Bucks. We rebuilding. We got some draft picks.
Got some young talent. Some young, hungry talent. Yes. That's exactly right, though. Now, about this data center situation, and I'm going to try to make it a broader point to the Democrats. This is like this right here, this talk right here. It's the reason why we gonna lose. It's the reason why we gonna lose, bro. Because we can't get together. See, with the other side, they gonna play whatever play they want to play, but they gonna be together with it. Even if the far right or the far or center of their party don't agree with it, they can shut up and be like, all right, just like how Donald Trump did. Donald Trump did that yesterday. They had a bill coming up. He was in trouble with the bill. He went down there. He got his people together. They killed the bill, or they did. I forgot the details about it, but they did what they were supposed to do. See, with the Democrats, it ain't. Of course, it's like negotiation. Of course, we ain't gonna take it over. Of course, we can't take it over. But that's heat. That's heat on We Energies, because you've been knowing. You just call We Energies daddy. We Energies been pimping us forever. They do what they want. And with these data centers, I've been around the country with my family, going to different especially down south, Memphis and New Orleans and all that like that. They doing the same thing, bro. They putting up data centers, and the data centers is right by the water. This is Wisconsin. We have the biggest fresh water tributary dang near in the world, correct? That has to be protected. But to go on our point though, we need to get together. Okay, maybe it's not a great idea, and it is kind of like jumping out the window, like Al said. It is probably jumping out the window, but you know what I'm saying. Let's calm down on a rhetoric against our people all the time, because like it or not though, they're on our side. People might not want to hear democratic socialists, but at the start of it, it's Democrat. They're Democrats. That's how we gonna win, by getting it together, man.
All right.
That's my time. Peace.
Okay. Talk about going around the block to get next door. Let's take a break. Come back. Gene, we'll get to you next. We appreciate your patience, Gene. We've had some interesting calls so far. Gene will be up next. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Life's better with American Family Insurance because we know you love working weekends. If it means working on your dream home, both inside and out. And we're here to help protect those dreams so you can.
American Family Insurance is a proud sponsor of The Truth. For almost 100 years, they've been committed to helping families protect what you value most: your home, your vehicle, and your dreams you're building every single day. And if you're part of the Truth audience, you already know you work hard for yours. That's why having the right protection in place matters. American Family helps you stay ready for whatever life brings so you can focus on moving forward. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly with American Family Insurance. Get a quote or find an agent at amfam.com. That is amfam.com. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI and its operating companies, 8000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin. Let's talk to a patiently waiting Gene. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you, Gene?
I am very patient. Mr. Hughes, you are the best.
Oh, thank you very much.
Would you please, I appreciate you. Would you please talk about the subsidiaries that We Energies has? Because a few years ago, I went to Doors Open Milwaukee, visited We Energies. They showed this video about We Energies and their history, and it said they have 186 subsidiaries. I'd like to know what impact would all those subsidiaries have on what they're trying to do. I don't want to hang up and listen.
Thank you, Gene. Appreciate your call. Wisconsin Electric Power Company includes ATC Management, Inc., American Transmission Company, LLC, Bosco, LLC, Wisconsin Gas, Edison Salt Electric Company, American Transmission Company, LLC, WE Power, LLC, Elm Road Generation Station Supercritical, LLC, Elm Road Services, LLC, Port Washington Generating Station, LLC, Guardian Pipeline, LLC, WEC, Nuclear Corporation, Nuclear Management Company, LLC, Wisvest Corporation, CE2, LLC, Calumet Energies Team, Mine Energy Corp., Glasspack, LLC, Mine Energy Nacita, LLC, Wispark, LLC, Centerpoint Wispark Land Company and Trust, LLC, Wisconsin Energy Capital Corporation, and this is a fraction percent owned, 100%, 38.7%, 33.2%, 100%, 100%, 100%, 4.2%, 100%, 100%, 100%, 33.3%, 100%, 20%, 100%, 100%. So all these other companies and subsidiaries that We Energies own, and this is not even close to the full list, also help generate profit that can ease our rate hikes here. Would Milwaukee be interested in buying some of these companies? I certainly hope not, because here's something that I don't necessarily agree with. And the Trump administration does this. And there's always these tentacles that stretch from the stuff that the far right does and the far left does it too. Because if you go far left enough, you meet the far right. Because at the very, very far right, you got guns and storming the Capitol. At the very, very far left, you got revolutionaries. You also have guns. I am not in favor of, never have been, and probably never will be, Government having a stake in private industry and private business, we are really horrible at it. When the American government buys stocks and bonds and buys stocks in companies, it is undue pressure on those companies that are also regulated by the largest shareholder that they may have, which is the U.S. government. It is always a problem. We want business and government to operate separately because I'm sure some of you have major complaints about how some businesses are run. You also have major complaints, probably even more, about how government is run. And so when government has its hands in and a stake in private business, you get all of the bad of government and probably none of the good. And the other thing is, we don't really elect business people like we think we do. And I don't know what voters and community members and taxpayers think they are going to get. Like, what kind of positive benefit are you going to get when you elect a bunch of business people to represent you politically? Business people with their experience in profits and loss and margins and all of those things, their experience is in generating a profit. Governments are not supposed to generate a profit. They are nonprofits. And if governments do things very well and they do things efficiently, that profit, if there is one, is supposed to be reinvested back into the people, back into the infrastructure, and back into the community. Some folks might believe that if you elect someone who's an experienced business person, that they will generate profit for the people and return it back to us. They rarely do. If anything, they generate profit for themselves. And I'm glad that Gene brought up the We Energy subsidiaries because this list is absolutely insane. They have, as she stated, a controlling interest in just about 200 different companies, and all of them play off of one another. And so if Milwaukee was to actually because even if we purchased all of the assets, all of the power lines and the transmission, where are we going to get the electricity from? Just because you own the power line doesn't mean you're actually producing the electricity. And that has been left out of the whole equation. The feasibility study would take between 1 to 2 years. So this is the timeline of Milwaukee transitioning off of We Energies to our own municipal power company. So the current elected officials wouldn't even be here. It'd be a whole new group of people. Hell, some of us won't even be here when this thing comes to fruition. Now, if it's worth it for you all to pay higher rates for 30 years in order to pay lower rates on the 31st year, well, then I guess this plan would make a lot of sense to you. But if that's the case, because it's going to take that long before the rates are actually realized as lower for the consumers if Milwaukee has its own power generation company. So you know who we should be selling this to? Babies. Hi, baby. They can't talk. Would you like a municipally owned power company? I guess on the morning show, Homer and Bailey were talking about Bailey doesn't think that some babies can be ugly. And Homer thinks that some babies can be ugly. Oh, yeah, they can. They can be ugly. Were they talking about that this morning? Because when I came in, they were still debating about.
They were talking about facially challenged people.
Ugly people.
Correct.
Okay. It's weird because genetics are funny because two real ugly people can have a beautiful baby. And then two real attractive people, that's kind of hit or miss. It's not always a guarantee that two attractive people can make a nice looking baby. But some of y'all's babies are ugly. And it's real embarrassing because someone will be all proud of their little monster looking little demon baby. Sherwin, you ain't seen my new baby yet? Oh, no, I haven't. Let me see the new baby. And then you peek into the stroller and then you look and they pull the blanket back. And you get scared by the baby. It's ugly babies out there. And I feel real bad because every parent thinks that their baby is so beautiful. Like, oh, Sherwin, look. I mean, yeah, he got a couple of extra ears and his nose is not in the right place, but he gonna grow out of that. My baby gonna grow out of having 3 rows of teeth. A feasibility study would take between 1 to 2 years. The legal challenges would have this whole thing tied up in court for between 2 to 5 years. The asset valuation of We Energy's equipment would take 1 to 3 years. The financing package would take 1 to 2 years to get approved. There'd have to be a voting referendum. We'd have to get permission from state law. There would have to be actual state legislation passed by both houses of the legislature and then signed by the governor. We don't even know who the next damn governor is going to be. And then the transition would take another 1 to 3 years. The best case scenario, if Milwaukee started today, we could have our own power company in 7 years. The more realistic time frame is 15 years. Several municipalization efforts elsewhere have taken about 10 years on average. So this is not an overnight thing. So some people think like, oh, we'll just switch over to a Milwaukee-owned utility power company. It's going to save us a bunch of rates. I don't think that Wisconsin has the political will to invest this kind of time on this proposal. A realistic time frame is it will take 15 years. Now, for those that are in support of it, the Democratic Socialists and Alex Brower start by saying, hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to take 15 years to do. Are you still interested? Watch them walk away. Watch every single person walk away from this idea because they want it done now. And that's the problem that I have with these real quick solutions to very complex problems. See, they're not doing that because they're manipulating people. Hey, are you paying too much for your energy bill? Yes, I am. You want to have a city of Milwaukee controlled power company where profit is not the motive? Hell yeah, I want that. Okay, sign up. Oh, by the way, it's going to take 15 years. And they start erasing their name off the sign-up sheet. Oh, the way y'all was talking about it, this is something we can do by next Thursday. We can do it by the 4th of July. 4th of July, 2041. I might not even be here in 2041. Nitty will still be here, though. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to take a break, come back, continue our conversation. So 2041 is what we're looking at to get your City of Milwaukee municipal power supply. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. We'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world.
Truth.com.
Milwaukee College Prep is still enrolling scholars, grades K through 8 for the upcoming school year. With 4 high-performing campuses, award-winning educators, and a proven track record for academic success, MCP is helping more than 2,000 Milwaukee scholars build brighter futures every day. Don't wait. Seats are limited. Apply today at MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com or call 414-264-6000. That is MilwaukeeCollegePrep.com or call 414-264-6000. Milwaukee College Prep. Excellence by design. Futures without limits. I probably should disclose something. We Energies is a sponsor of 1017 The Truth. They do what the business is. So Homer and Bailey, every Friday at 8 o'clock, you are able to call in and promote your Black-owned business on 1017 The Truth's Truth in the Morning with legendary Homer Blow and Bailey Coleman. So I'm just saying, now Sherwin Hughes does not have any personal loyalty to We Energies, and also, there's a lot of electricity in this studio. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's a lot of voltages in here, y'all. I got monitor here, monitor here, monitor here, computer, monitor here, monitor here. These two don't work. It is starting to look like a black radio station now because these two TVs don't work. But there's a lot of electric camera, lights. This is a lot of We Energies up in here now. Now, my position is just one of objectivity. If a municipal electric company is easy to do and there was a lot of support for it and you could demonstrate for us that it would, in fact, increase reliability, here's the thing, it won't. And if you can demonstrate to us that our rates are going to be lower, there's no guarantee of that either. In the meantime, we, the taxpayers who are angry that We Energies gets to continue to raise rates, we would be on the hook to finance a $10+ billion transition. We're paying for that. And what we're going to end up paying for that in higher taxes, higher fees, et cetera, is going to exceed the rate increases by We Energies. But because Democratic Socialists hate data centers. This is the reason why they're doing this. They're trying to convince people like, oh, we got to get rid of We Energies because it'll save you more money. That's a lie. It's going to cost you more money for the next 15 years. But because the Democratic Socialists hate data centers and they don't like the fact that We Energies powers data centers, they want to remove Milwaukee from being the number one customer of We Energies, which, look, and I get it, but stop lying to people. This is why we don't get anywhere politically, because you'll have somebody that'll come in and say, hey, are you tired of all of this stuff not working? Are you tired of rates being too high? Come in and be with us and support us. And then they produce zero policy. And then we have to convince people to vote in the next election when they got duped in the previous one. They're also taking advantage of something that is easy to do in America. You take advantage of the fact that people don't know any better. They don't do any research. And they trust folks when they come into their community and they're very motivated and they're having a rally and a protest. It's really easy to get behind something like that because it looks like something is really happening. It's a manipulation to get you to vote. And no one political faction has a monopoly on that. If you can intimidate people or scare people or prey on their anxieties and fears, you can make them do anything. If you tell a bunch of people in this country that their problem really is migrants coming from third world countries and that's the reason why they don't have a job, then those people will believe that and they'll end up hating the migrants. If you tell people that black people are getting all these jobs that they don't qualify for, that they shouldn't get because of DEI and affirmative action, DEI and affirmative action will be overturned. If you don't like welfare because you think the people that get it don't apply themselves and they're lazy and they're eating off of the taxpayers and we need to cut these SNAP benefits, this one is a little more tricky. I have said on countless occasions that there are more white people in America that receive some kind of welfare benefit, whether it be a child care subsidy, energy assistance, Section 8, SNAP benefits. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of public benefit. And now, obviously, because there are more Caucasian people in the United States, there are more white people getting welfare than there are black people, period. Also, 75% of African Americans don't qualify for any kind of public benefit because y'all make too much money. Y'all need to start pretending like you ain't rich. Some of y'all pretending to be poor. I know it's plenty of black folks with money over here pretending like you broke. You don't need reparations. You already got it in your pocket, in cash. If you want to get rid of welfare, keep in mind that welfare is used by white people. Also, here's another one. There's more white single mothers than any other race. You think white fathers don't go out for milk and don't come back? White fathers be doing that too. Honey, I'm just going to go down to the store and get a quart of milk. I'll be right back. And he don't come back because he runs off with Shaquanda. The majority of single mothers in America are actually white women. But here's the trick of all tricks. Republicans don't like welfare. They don't want anybody to get it, even though a lot of times it's their constituents that are the biggest beneficiaries of it, including corporate welfare, because that's really the biggest one. But if you want to turn America against welfare, like you turn America against immigrants and migrants, like we've turned America against diversity, equity, and inclusion, the way we've turned America against affirmative action, all you have to do, how this works, I have no idea. I got to give it to the Republicans. If you want to turn public sentiment against welfare, so any kind of SNAP benefits, and Trump, they ended it for a while, right, when they had that government shutdown. All you have to do is tell the country that black people benefit from it. You know how insane that is that people believe that? I also want you to keep in mind how easy it is to manipulate people in this country and to manipulate voters. A little while ago, I told you that the majority of the people that receive some kind of public benefit are white people. Welfare was created because of poor white people. Public housing was created in this country because of poor white people. It was never because of black people. The government never went that far to help out black people. All of that stuff was created to help ease the poverty and the suffering of white people, mostly during the Great Depression. But if you want white people who benefit from welfare to also not like welfare, tell a white welfare recipient that black people are benefiting from it more than they are, and they too will be against it, and it works. That blows my mind every single time. You got some families, they live exclusively on welfare. But boy, oh boy, those blacks sure are getting welfare as they're running to the mailbox to get that welfare check. I want some welfare. I need it to deal with people like Bob. I need a disability check. I'm going crazy. Send me a crazy check. I mean, don't worry, I'll still come to work. Give me my how much is a crazy check? I guess I shouldn't call it that. That's not nice to call it a crazy check.